talk with Oscar. Oscar gives us our tech tips. This month tech tip, we're going to talk about trailering your bike. Now, this is going to be a very specific about trailering my bike, which is a V-Rod. It's not the easiest bike to tie down. And also using the official trailer of our show, which is the drop tail trailer. You'll get to see a little bit more of that in action. So Oz, give us the tips, make our bike safe while we trail it across the country and just across town.
Hi, this is Oz with this month's Tech Tips. This month we're going to talk about trailering your bike. We're going to talk about loading it, we're going to talk about tying it down securely, and some other considerations that you need to keep in mind so that you have an enjoyable trip and have no accidents or do any damage to your bike. So you should have been able to see how that clamshell grabbed that tire. Now, one of the benefits of that is that I can actually get off the bike and it'll stay put. Now, some really important things to consider when you're going to tie a bike down. You want to make sure that your straps are in a V. So they're either going to be in a V pulling out this way or from the center coming out this way. The reason that you do that is you have opposing forces on the bike. So if they're on a V, when you hit the brakes, one of the straps will keep the bike from going forward. When you accelerate hard, the other one will keep it from coming backwards. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks about the best way to tie these bikes down. Now, this bike is sitting on a drop tail trailer. It's a really nice trailer. It actually articulates in the back here right by the wheel. Has a hydraulic pump. You jack it up and it brings the back up, levels the trailer out, and then you can fold the ramp up. The other feature this trailer has is when the bike is off and you got to store it, you can actually articulate and fold everything forward, and it has a little set of casters in the back. You stand it right up and it'll stand on these tires and little casters, and you can maneuver it around, put it right up against the wall in your garage. So it takes a very, very little small footprint. Basically the room that it takes is from the ground to here, away from the wall, and then the height from the back of the tire to the front of the tongue. One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to tie this front end down, which is where we're going to start. There's a couple different ways people tie them down. However, the most important thing that you want to do is you really don't want to take the front end and compress it down. It's really hard on the seals. They can blow out, and it also puts a tremendous amount of strain on it. So one of my favorite ways of tying a motorcycle down is to come around the top of the slider here. The regular tie strap has a flat end, and it has another one that looks like it was sewn funny by mistake. And that's actually the one that acts as the choker. So when you actually tie this and choke it down, it actually has a real nice noose on it. The first thing we're going to do is just take the slack out of this one. Now you notice we don't have a whole lot of room here. We only have approximately 3 inches to come in and tighten this. But since we're not moving here and the bike is not compressing, that's actually going to be enough for us. And that's it, that gets the front. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and raise the drop tail. Very, very easy to do on this bike. As you can see, I'm using 2 fingers on it. There it goes, locked in. Now we take the valve, open it up a little bit, close it back down. That takes the pressure off the hydraulic cylinder and lets it rest on the locks. Now once we do that, anytime you move anything, you want to make sure that you've checked it, made sure that it's still plenty tight. Now, one of my favorite techniques for stowing these and putting them out of the way is to actually send them through the loops here. So you send it through that one, come back through the bottom, and that takes up a lot of the slack, and then you merely come through, tie a series of half hitches, you're good to go, and it's there. Now, there's 2 things here, big advantages in doing it this way. One of the things is we actually retain the suspension on the motorcycle. So when this trailer hits a bump, the motorcycle suspension actually absorbs some of that inertia from the bump. It will absorb that shock, and it will not put a tremendous amount of stress on these. It'll let the bike actually ride up and down. if you had it hooked up to the top here on the bottom triple tree, or even up to the handlebars, and you put tension on it, when you hit a bump, these will get slack. So they'll get slack and then tighten up again. And I'm going to show you a trick that if you have no choice and have to tie your bike down that way, I'm going to show you a trick so that you can ensure that these don't come out. They do come out. I've had it happen to me. So that's the front. Now we're going to tie down the back. The back can be a little bit challenging depending on the kind of motorcycle that we have. And the V-Rod is actually one that is a little bit challenging to do, but we've got a pretty good technique for doing that. In this case, you don't have to go through twice. Once is enough. We're going to put our buffer here. This one is going over the seat. You have to be careful when you do this. Always think in terms of the bike moving around some and how in fact the straps or the eyelets might chafe the seat or anything else. And don't honk down on the seat too much, because the foam for the seat will actually get some memory, and it'll come back. It'll just take it a day or so. So we run this guy through here, tighten this one up, bounce it back a little bit. We're good to go. Okay, so I've got 3 zip ties here. I'm going to take these 2 loose ends, not going to zip them tight, just enough so that they don't flap around, come out from under there. The front ones are tied pretty secure, so I'm not worried about those. Now, the trick on these is we're going to come down and we're actually going to put the zip tie right through here. Now, with that zip tie here, even if we get really, really loose on our straps, that hook will not come off there. As you can see, it stays put right there. I'm here to tell you that'll really save your bike. So if you tie your bike like this, you can literally tie this thing all the way across the country and you won't have any problems. The last consideration, if you're towing a single bike, if you can, always put the motorcycle on the left side of the trailer. The reason for that is most of the potholes on a road are on the right side. So if you have the bike on the right side of the trailer, that right side is going to be getting the most abused with the bumps. So that's why you always want to keep it here. Also, it's a little bit easier to see if it's on this side from your rear view mirror, so that'll help as well. And that's about it. The only thing we need to do is bring the tail section up on this drop tail, pin it, check your tire pressures on your trailer, make sure that they're inflated to the manufacturer's recommendations. Check your coupling up front, make sure you have a lock on the hitch, safety chains, and that you've got your trailer lights wired properly, and check them, make sure that they're all working. Now the last thing is, this particular configuration is specific to the V-Rod. However, it will work for most motorcycles. There's a lot of different motorcycles, a lot of different rakes, a lot of different front ends. Some have inverted forks, some have forks that you actually can't hardly see. So there's a number of different ways that you'll have to tie each bike individually. A little bit of experimentation, looking, going for the basic principles, which is opposing forces, letting the suspension of the bike do the work is the most important things. If you have any questions at all about how to tie your bike down and are not really sure, please send me an email to oscar@miamicycleworks.com. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions.
Hey Oz, thanks for helping us keep our bike safe while we trailer it across the country. Also, as Oscar was saying, if you have any questions about towing, he's more than happy to answer those for you. He does all our tech tips. If you got a question about something else on your bike, send him an email at oscar@miamicycleworks.com, and he can answer these questions for you about trailering your bike, strapping it down, and any other tech tip about your motorcycle you might have. So that's oscar@miamicycleworks.com for all your tech tips. At this time, we'd like to thank everyone for watching this episode of Two Wheel Thunder. If you have any comments about this show or a suggestion for any future show, email us at twowheelthunder@hotmail.com.